come on in. This is All Things Odd. I'm Dr. Natalie Phillips.
And I'm Dr. Hannah Galloway.
And we are just giggling away, having a lot of fun because we're so excited with our awesome guest today. But before we get there, we're going to just kind of review because we haven't been on for a while.
Yep.
Dr. Galloway is back. Yay.
Yes.
Yay. We're so excited that she's back seeing patients. We are just kind of getting back to our show, and we're going to get our show done kind of more on a regular basis. But we just wanted to take a short little break, and we're kicking it back off this year with one of our favorite people. So before we get there, we're going to talk a little bit more about our YouTube and how you're able to kind of see some of the shows that we've done so far.
Yes, so you can find us on YouTube. Go to our YouTube channel, and up at the top, you can subscribe, and then it'll let you get notifications when we have a new show. This is kind of the best way to share our videos with somebody that doesn't have Facebook, I think. And then the thumbnails are just a little bit easier to see kind of what the videos are about. So yeah, go check out our YouTube channel.
Yeah. So we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook as well. So we're going to take that down. And okay, so our guest is really fun, and we absolutely love to have him. We're laughing because I just saw him take a selfie of himself. So he's a really good friend of ours. And, you know, we've done some previous shows, but we wanted to have him back. And we also wanted to introduce him with our new office as well, and to make sure that we catch up on what's going on. And so he's not going to be a stranger to you as soon as you see him, because you've probably seen him all over the place. He's got an awesome YouTube channel. I'm trying to think, how else can we like describe?
Yeah, I was going to say he's YouTube famous. He's very famous in the audiology community. So I feel like people have seen his videos come across their feed or in their YouTube, suggestions.
Or playing in their waiting room or whatever you do. So we absolutely love this guy so much. So we're glad that he was able to join us. And without further ado, we're going to bring him in. Dr. Cliff Olson. Hello.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be back on the show.
Oh, we're so glad. We're so glad. I have to make sure that we can hear you good. Okay. So we have a couple of questions just to kind of catch up. But before we get there, first of all, let's kind of go back to the beginning of like, who is Dr. Cliff? You have an amazing story to share. And so we want to make sure that we talk a little bit about how you became an audiologist, because you weren't really an audiologist yet, and you had some really cool stuff that you did. So talk to us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, all the cool stuff, so to speak, that I did was really because I had no clue what I wanted to do with my life. So, the story goes that I graduated high school. I wasn't an exceptional student by any means. I decided to go to community college. I realized that, school is not for me. So I'm going to join the Marine Corps. I got into the Marine Corps. I'm like, the Marine Corps is not for me. But, I actually was diagnosed with a hearing loss in my right ear when I was in Marine Corps boot camp. And by luck, I was able to actually stay in. This was back in 2002, right when we were in the middle of the Iraq war conflict. And so it ended up progressing to where, I got out of the military. I had some fortunate ability to do really cool things like become a scout sniper when I was in the Marine Corps. But when I got out, I decided to go back to school for exercise science. And, I love exercising myself, but I was just like, this is not really what I want to do with the rest of my life. And I ended up looking, I think it was around 2011, audiology happened to be like ranked number 4 in the World News Best Career Outlook, best careers to get into. And I'm like, that's interesting. I remember going to the military audiologist numerous times when I was in boot camp. And so I decided that, that job, the job of audiology has a lot of tech in it. It's in the healthcare field, and I get to interact with people. All three things interested me. And so I decided to apply to some state schools inside of Illinois, and was able to get into one of them somehow because I did not have a background in speech and hearing sciences. And I decided I wanted to, after my 4th year externship out in Phoenix, Arizona, that I really wanted to open up my own clinic because I wanted to do things the way that I wanted to do them. I had gone through the military. I was sick of people telling me what to do, and I wanted to do things my own way. And so I started Applied Hearing Solutions in the Phoenix area.
I love it. I love it. And we've got some great content from you as well on your YouTube channel. How many followers do you have, or subscribers, I should say?
I think we just passed 250,000 subscribers on the channel. We do about 1.1, 1.2 million views a month.
Wow.
Which is, I never thought it would get to that point. We're very niched about what we talk about on the channel. It's very hearing care related. And to think that that many people are watching informational videos on hearing loss, hearing aids, hearing treatment, stuff like that, it's really surprising.
Yeah, yeah. And I love it too because we've pulled up multiple videos that you've done. So thank you very much. And I think that it's definitely something that can be useful in the professional world, but then also in the consumer world as well, right? And so we just wanted to thank you also just for doing it because you're just getting a lot of great information out there, and you do the work and you do the research and you just present it in such a great way that it's non-biased, right? It's just getting out there, talking about it to really get that information out there. So I absolutely love it. Yeah.
Well, and also you've upped the production quality that you have. It is really important for people with hearing loss because they need a video where somebody's going to speak slowly and clearly and explain it in layman's terms, but also go into enough of the technology that they feel like they can, kind of wrap their heads around it. And that's unique because a lot of times, like, let's say I need a video on how to change a battery or how to change a wax guard. If I just go look on YouTube and I'm trying to pull one that's the same model, as the person's hearing aid, sometimes the audio is like somebody just recording it from their iPhone on a desk, which is fine. And it gets it across if they can see the video. But being able to send them a video that I know it's good content, they're going to be able to hear it. They're going to be able to understand it. And there's captions if they want. Like that's a total win because it's a different demand, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
There's two unforgivable sins when you're creating content for the community that we create content for. Number one, it has to be good audio and you have to have closed captions. You can have bad video. You can have, bad a lot of things. You can be dressed horribly, whatever the case may be, but you have to have the audio good. You think about it, we're in the hearing space. Like we have to have good, sound quality when we're creating video content or even audio content. And then closed captions are a key. It is a battle for me each and every day to make sure that all of our captions are as accurate as possible on the channel. It's expensive to do it that way, but the community, the hearing loss community deserves it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yep. So, and we've got other great audiologists and other people in our industry that do some great things with podcasts, with shows, also with video as well. But I think that you're right. I think definitely like there's no excuse for not using the best audio that we can, right? And then also captions is huge. And so there's all different ways to do it. If you don't want to put either the time or the money like you have, right, that you've invested to make sure it's right, there are some ways that you can still do it. So don't think that you have to have this huge fancy setup, right? But at the same time, again, and I'm going to throw in too, like being able to, if you're looking at a video too, being able to have a good light on you as well, because they do use a lot of lip reading, right? And so even with captions or without, or if they're listening to it in the car or they're watching it or whatever, without captions for some reason too, make sure that you have some good light. So we were laughing and giggling because we were struggling with light today. And so we're like, you know what, let's go back to old school where like Hannah and I are talking to the camera, but like we're sitting right next to each other just to make sure that we get some good light so that people can kind of see it as well. So some really good tips. And I really appreciate all the hard work that you do and the time and the energy, and then also the finances that you're putting in to make sure that you're putting some top quality things out there for people. So that's awesome. All right.
Well, it's definitely worth it. I mean, just to add on to that really quick is that, I wanted to make videos that benefited everybody with hearing loss, whether they lived in my local area or not. I don't ever tell people to come to my clinic when I produce a video. So I want other hearing care professionals to be able to share that content just like you guys have, because it's informational based and it's not directed at selling.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that too. So, one of our questions that we had too is, when did you start creating this content and where did you think it was going to go? Because you briefly talked about that. And just by starting this off anyway, I know a lot of us in the practice are thinking, oh, we'll just make videos and we'll kind of put it up on our own website or whatever it is, never thinking to use the digital space like YouTube or Facebook, right? Where we're doing some live shows or putting your YouTube channel on Facebook. So what were some of your initial thoughts? And as it has changed for you, like what are some of the things that you're looking forward to as well?
Yeah, I mean, it was right after I started my clinic. It was 2017, mid-year 2017, created my first video. That video actually has done really well, but it didn't do really well right off the bat. In fact, I was making video content every weekend. I would do 2 videos a weekend. I told my wife, Ashley, that I'm going to put a year into creating 2 videos a weekend every weekend. So you won't see me for a whole year. And if nobody watches it, I'll stop doing it. If it doesn't benefit anybody, I'll stop doing it. And I think it was about 6 months after I started, so I don't know how many videos that was, I finally got one individual who actually traveled a good distance to come into my clinic. And I told my wife, hey, we just got a patient from 3 cities away who drove all the way here, driving by like 100 other clinics to come to us. And she's like, maybe it's worth it, you creating video content on the weekends. And it's grown slowly but surely. By no means has it reached like virality where we just get a ton of subscribers all at once. It's a slow trickle as we go by, but been doing it for almost 6 years at this point, which is the reason why it's gotten up to, 250,000 subscribers at this point.
Yeah. And let's just pause and like give your wife, Ashley, like huge props, because she is really behind the scenes and we've seen it, right? We've seen it in person, but then also, I mean, she does a lot, for your clinic and also for just this new venture, right? Of creating the Dr. Cliff. And it takes a lot, right? And I remember seeing you for the first time at a AAA. And you had, and I don't know if it was the same time that we both saw
him because we're like, what is that thing that he's
well,
wearing?
Who is this guy?
Ear?
Yeah. And then also like you were running around. I remember like in the hall, I don't even remember what city it was.
It was in Nashville.
And
yes, Nashville.
Right, because there was this long escalator, and that was when you were running around. And what you were doing was getting interviews with people, right? Getting interviews on the floor, doing that type of thing. Yeah. And it's evolved. And even like seeing, your wife, Ashley, be such a huge part of this. And then also always thinking, right? And I know that you guys probably have multiple conversations, but just thinking ahead of, okay, while I'm now, because you do a lot of speaking as well, while I'm here, let's get some shots doing this, right? So that we can use it in different content. And so there's different ways that you guys are constantly thinking about how do we use things that we can grab, right? Digital content and use it for other things. And so I applaud. We love Ashley. So I applaud Ashley. We want to just give her huge props because we know she does a lot behind the scenes, and both of you together have this dynamic duo and are able to pull off what you do. And so it's just amazing to watch that. So yay, Ashley.
Yes, Ashley really, I mean, if it wasn't for Ashley, none of this stuff would have ever been possible in the first place. Even when I started up my clinic, you guys know you started up a new clinic up there and in Colorado, and you don't take a paycheck for who knows how long. You're doing it because you know that you're going to eventually build something that's great for individuals with hearing loss, for them to go so they can experience high quality hearing care. But it oftentimes takes some, a significant other to support you through that time where you're not actually making money, in fact, losing money. And if it wasn't for her, none of this would have been possible.
Yeah, I love that. And we have to definitely agree with you. I think both of our spouses are special people. And yeah, there's no way that we would have been dead. I mean, this is my work spouse right here. Yeah. But besides my work spouse, like our spouses at home are just, there's no way that we could have done what we've done in the last year without them. So props to all of our spouses.
Right on.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So besides the YouTube channel, okay, and all the content that you're making more content. Okay. So let's talk about the Dr. Cliff Show, because it is high quality, so much fun. Thank you for having me on as well. But you guys are doing a great job. So what's the Dr. Cliff Show all about? Why did you decide to start the Dr. Cliff Show in addition to the YouTube channel?
Yeah, as we grew the channel, it started off with having these intermediate length videos of 5 to 7 minutes on a very specific topic, very structured videos. But as things grew, we were like, we want to have something that's a little bit more long form, because some people prefer to have a longer show to watch. on top of that, we wanted it to be a live show, just like your show is live. It's a little bit more authentic when you have a live show and you have this interaction, and it's not scripted, right? And so we just felt like we wanted to have something like that. And it was an easy way for me to also incorporate another audiologist inside of my clinic, Dr. Rachel Cook. She is just fantastic in front of the video camera. And even my extern, Kelsey Beck, is really starting to grow in this content creation or becoming a content creator inside of the world of audiology. Because, you know, when I came into this profession, there wasn't a whole lot of information out there. And, you know, we always talk like, wouldn't it be great if individuals with hearing loss actually knew a little bit more about what it is that we do for them to support them? And, you know, I feel like the more people we can get inside of our entire profession creating quality content and educating people, the better. And so the Dr. Cliff Show is just another extension of how we can create more and more content, and even take that longer form content and chop out little chunks of it and put it on social media as well for those individuals who only can have time to consume 30 seconds to a minute of information, but put a jam pack a ton of information into a really small period of time. And so the Dr. Cliff Show just allows us to do all of those things at one time.
Yeah, I love that. And you know, you talked about another colleague that you have in there, and then also your intern. And so even like with Hannah and I, you know, as we bring on students, we always ask them, hey, okay, you know, we do this show every week, and so do you want to be a part of it? Then great. If not, no worries, because we know that some people aren't super comfortable, or they don't want to be in front of the camera, right? But I do think that the more that we can train other people to do this, because they're interested, and see how really easy it is, you know, easy and fun, I should say, you know, that there's going to be more people, like exactly like what you said, putting out content there, because there are different ways that now consumers consume content, and this is the best way to do it. And whether it's sharing the stuff that we're doing, or even dabbling on it, or turning your phone on, turning it around and just going with it, right? Just to get more people involved, it would be great. Yeah.
Well, and for me too, honestly, when we first started doing this show, definitely Natalie was the one who's like, hey, I think we could do this live show. I'm like, I don't know, that I might be awkward. Like that might be, but then you start to see actually like the rewards from it. And this is a funny story that I'll tell quickly, but I met one of our now patients at the swimming pool because my daughter was taking swimming lessons, and this woman was in the pool, and she asked me if I had a YouTube channel. And I'm like, I don't think that you're talking about me. I mean, I just have this little thing that we do. So she found us through Dr. Cliff, and she has an implant and a hearing aid. And she was being seen at Vanderbilt. And so she was, you know, didn't have a local provider. Anyway, she found us from Dr. Cliff network, now Hearing Net Provider Network. And yeah, it was the smallest connection at local swimming lessons for my daughter, who's 2 years old. And now we have a new patient. So just things like that. You see somebody who's really seeking information, really looking for, you know, a quality provider. And then that was the way that she happened to find it, was through you, you know, on your YouTube videos, and then us on your website, and then, you know, seeing me at the swimming pool.
I love it. It's a small world out there,
Really
you know? And when you think about video content, it reaches everywhere. I mean, there's not a place on this planet, except for, you know, maybe a few countries that don't allow YouTube and block YouTube. But, you know, pretty much anywhere that you go, if you're interested in hearing treatment, you can find information out online. And, you know, if they get implanted at Vanderbilt in, you know, Nashville, Tennessee, and then they move out to where you're at, I mean, you know, they were aware of you before even coming out, most likely. And then here they are, they stumble across you. Usually that doesn't even happen to me. People don't notice me anywhere, and they notice you at the local pool. I love it.
I'm like, no, definitely not me. And she's like, no, do you work with, you know, people with hearing loss? And since she was in the pool, she didn't have any devices on. And I noticed she was signing, but I thought that maybe, you know, her daughter uses devices and didn't have them on because of the pool. Anyway, it was just because she was in the pool that she wasn't using them. But so we just, you know, struck up this conversation. And then after my maternity leave, she was, you know, one of the first patients to come see me. So just totally random. But, you know, it's people are seeking that information. And if they have the outlet to find it, then, you know, these great things can happen, because it's, you know, somebody knows somebody that can help you out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Love it.
And I love it because YouTube is huge, and TikTok now, right? And like, we're still kind of like about TikTok, but those two, just talking about those two, whether you're comfortable doing it or not, like those two are what some of the biggest ways that people search for information, right? I mean, I call it edutainment, right? Because it's educational plus it's entertaining
Right.
that people want to listen to or
Mhm.
watch. And so I think between the two of them, you can't forget about either one of them, because Facebook and Instagram, like there are some people that just don't have the accounts or use their social media, but YouTube and TikTok, you can definitely share it out. And even though you don't have a huge account or anything like that, you'll click on something that somebody had shared with you, even by text, and you can watch that
Right.
video, right? And so think about, so people that are thinking about doing some things, think about those two platforms, is the TikTok platform as well as YouTube, because it's a lot easier to share that content, whether it's in a long form or a short, fun, edutainment type of thing, like on TikTok. So I love that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, video definitely indexes better than anything else out
Mhm.
there. But we have a provider in our clinic, Dr. Leslie Balderas, who she's a fantastic writer. So we have her writing blogs. When people are doing searches on Google, there's a lot of different keywords that come up. And then Google presents you with the articles as well as the videos that correspond with whatever you're searching for. So, I always tell people who aren't comfortable in front of camera to get out, your laptop and start typing a blog and create information that way. Different people like to consume different pieces of content differently. And, I think that all of us have the benefit of not being shy in front of the camera. We're not worried about criticism that people are going to have. And there's plenty of criticism out there, both from within the profession as well as from individuals watching the content. But at the end of the day, if it helps more people, it's worth it, in my opinion.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
And great point too. And not to overwhelm people, but everybody's good at something, right?
Mhm.
And so find what you're good at something and just roll with it and just start doing something, right? Take that action. So I love that you brought up even blogging and writing, because people are different at different things, are good at different things, right? So you had mentioned very briefly, and we've mentioned the Hearing Up Provider Network. So let's kind of pause and talk a little bit about that as well, because I think that with the Hearing Up Provider Network, you had started exactly like what you said earlier, where you had started putting out this content, not in a ways to say, oh, everybody come and see me, right? But you're like, you know what? There's audiologists that are out there. There are many of them, right, that do what we're supposed to be doing. And you had made it a business to really try to make sure that we were doing everything kind of across the board, but best practices is what it started off with, right? So where is the Hearing Up Provider Network right now? How are you doing with things like that? And we thank you, because we are part of the Hearing Up Provider Network, and we have been getting people that have seen your content, but they're closer to us and they're able to see us and benefit from practices that have already been vetted. That's really the reason why, right? We've already been vetted to say, hey, you know what? Thank you for watching my video content, but these people are closer to you. So go see them. And I fully trust them because I've talked to them and I know what they do, right, for with their patients. And so I fully trust them. And so that's really what it's about. But what was some of the things that you were thinking about in creating the Hearing Up Provider Network? And then also, where has it gone?
Yeah, so I think it was back in 2019, about early 2019, I think it was. Now, keep in mind, that was only like a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years of me having the channel. And it was growing enough to where people were reaching out and asking like, hey, where do I go in my local area to find a provider who does all the things that you're talking about on your channel? And I'm like, man, I don't know. I don't know anyone. And so I had spent some time speaking with a mutual colleague and friend of ours, Dr. Mick Gasalia. And he's like, Cliff, you should be thinking about doing something where you can get these people directed into really good hearing care professionals in their local area. Because, I didn't want everyone to come out and fly and see me. I think that it's better for them to find an excellent local provider for local support. And so I'm like, well, Amit, I'm not really sure that I can confidently refer these people to anyone because I don't know if they're doing the things that I talk about on the channel. And that's really what kind of got the conversation started. And so what I determined is that, taking the AAA best practice guidelines, so it's not like I've created these things, our national organization had a task force put together the certain criteria that we must be following as hearing care professionals to make sure that we get the highest outcome for our patients when it comes to hearing treatment. And so I just took that really dense, no offense, but dense article and put it into a checklist format so consumers could understand it and so audiologists could better understand it. And then I put it up and said, okay, I'm going to start this network. And so at a conference that we had in Naples, Florida, and I think at the end of 2019, right before COVID started, we launched the network. And it's been growing ever since, which is great. And I mean, the amount of emails that I get thanking me for referring someone who is struggling with hearing treatment into a hearing up provider is immense. And it actually makes me feel better than if they were to come out to Arizona and have me treat them in my clinic. And so I think that this will probably ultimately be my legacy, which is helping individuals who are struggling with their hearing treatment, get them into an excellent hearing care professional, someone that is doing things in the right way. That way they have an absolutely fantastic outcome with hearing treatment.
Yeah.
Well, and it helps us immensely too, because let's say we have a patient moving across the country, we're all asked to do that, especially, living in a university town, maybe your patient's going to graduate and move elsewhere. It's like, where do I go? Well, I can do a Google search and I can look at 5 websites and I can identify that this person is probably a pretty good, person to go to, but I don't know them personally and I don't know exactly what they're doing in their offices. So for us, it's really helpful too. Or for like our new patient, finding someone to see her locally.
Yep. And I'm just thinking about even tinnitus providers, right? Like I do a certain thing with tinnitus, but I want to be comfortable. Like if they're leaving my care and going to another state to live, I want to be able to find that provider that does some similar things to what I'm doing so that they're not thrown off in their therapy or whatever it is, but it's super important. And so I'm glad that that was kind of on your heart. And, I love that you said that that's your legacy, because if you think about, we're all service providers, right? So we lead with our heart. Right. And so I think that really getting people connected to people that are going to be focused on that, but then you also know they have the skills and they actually do exactly you're putting up the content there, but so you want to make sure that you're sending them to people that are doing what you're saying that we would do when you walk into an office. Right. So I love that part of it.
It's my reputation on the line is what it is. So, each of the providers goes through a vetting process. And when I feel comfortable that they're actually committed to following these best practices and they're doing it on their patients, because here's the thing, if they don't, that is a knock on me at the end of the day. And then if I lose my credibility, that's my livelihood that goes with it. I've built my entire career on this idea that we're going to be very ethical with our patients. We're going to do everything the right way every single time and not cut corners ever. And so if the providers in the network are cutting corners, that takes everything, all the goodwill away that I've put in for the last 6 years of creating informational content.
Yeah. Yeah. And, talking about that between, clinic work versus like all this digital stuff that you're doing, right? It's so different. And like you said, your reputation is on the line, even though it's the digital stuff that you're putting out there, right? But it's your digital, right, reputation. And so when you're thinking about clinic work, because you still have your clinic and this digital world that you're in, like, how are you feeling? Like, are you thinking that you're going to continue to kind of keep up the brick and mortar place with some excellent audiologists and interns that you're having? How do you feel about the digital landscape that you're working in as well? Do you kind of want it to be like a 50-50 thing? Or what are some of your thoughts surrounding moving forward with all of this?
If I had it my way, I would be in the clinic 5 days a week and I'd be creating video content on Saturday, Sunday, like I did for numerous years. But my wife, Ashley, again, she's like, Cliff, A, you're going to burn out if you burn the candle at both ends all the time. And B, you have more demands from a digital perspective. So we've actually been taking my days in the clinic down. I'm now Monday through Wednesday inside the clinic. And then partial day Wednesday, we actually leave the clinic early to do the Dr. Cliff Show live. So, I'm really down to a little bit less than 3 days a week of being a practitioner in the office. And then I still create content 4 days a week now. So, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm doing some content work. But, I've gotten some help along the way too. I think those individuals watching who are in the profession, Dr. Brad Stewart, who's an audiologist, he is now my content manager. So he helps to manage all of the content that's out there. And I have a fantastic editor. Hannah, you were talking about us, increasing the quality of the videos that we do, and having a professional editor come on board to start doing some of the editing has really helped as well. What happens long term is definitely a question mark. I think that the trajectory of my career is definitely leading me more down the digital road. I can only help so many people when I'm seeing one person at a time inside of my clinic. And I love that part of it because I'm a people person. Like, even though I talk to a lens for half of my week, I love talking to people. And so taking that away is something I don't think I'd ever want to get fully rid of that. But I just feel like I'd have much more impact in helping people with hearing loss if I was able to create more information for them and then getting them into a provider in their local area to experience high quality care.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yep. So speaking about that too. So again, you're a man of many talents. And as an entrepreneur, you've constantly got to work with, what's the need, right? Look at what the need is and can I solve a problem, right? And so I know that you've got some things coming up and I don't know how much you can talk about it, but I'm not going to say much about it. But we want to know because you're constantly thinking and you're constantly looking outside of the box and trying to figure out how you can help more people, right? And so, what's new on the landscape for you? Not whether it's part of your practice, whether it's part of what you're doing with your content, or whether it's something new. So, share with us what you can.
Yeah, a lot of new stuff happening. I would say the biggest thing. I'm actually working on a joint venture right now, and I can't announce exactly what that is yet. But shameless self plug here, if you guys want to be apprised of what that is, here in the next week, I'm going to be making an announcement on Facebook, on my YouTube channel. So go over and follow Dr. Cliff AUD on those channels, and you'll eventually find out here this coming week. But the things that we've been working on, obviously getting the providers inside of my clinic up to speed with how we provide care. We care only about providing the highest quality of care possible inside of the clinic. So getting them up to speed on that. And then in conjunction with that, being content creators as well. It is my true belief that when you're creating content about audiology, hearing treatment, and all of that, you actually become a better practitioner of it as well, because you have to be very clear about what you know and how you're communicating that to individuals with hearing loss. And so that naturally translates to a better overall treatment experience for patients inside of the clinic. I've already mentioned that we have, the team has grown, adding an editor and a content manager to the team. We're creating more content than ever. I remember back in the day where I just did 2 structured video posts a week. Now I'm pretty sure that there's content going out every single day and sometimes multiple pieces of content going out every single day of the week. Over-the-counter hearing aids has gained a little bit of attention. So we've been needing to create video reviews of those particular products for individuals so they actually know what they're getting themselves into with OTC to determine which OTC product is right for them. And if OTC is not right for them, what they should do instead of going the OTC route. I just got back from a talk in Mississippi, speaking to a bunch of hearing instrument specialists on the importance of following best practices inside of their clinics. I really feel like me getting in front of people and explaining that not only is it good for individuals with hearing loss to follow best practices, but it's actually beneficial to your practices to follow best practices. And, we've kind of gone down this rabbit hole for years. And, if you ask, anyone in the industry, what's the fastest growing segment of our industry, it's managed care. Well, managed care, through insurance programs or whatnot, is destroying the quality of care inside of our profession. And not only do the professionals suffer, but the patients are the ones who suffer the most. So trying to convey information about how quality is what people really want and what people really need will end up increasing the amount of individuals who are adopting best practice philosophies and best practice care. Because when you look at the industry as a whole, depending on who you ask, it's anywhere between 10 and 30% of hearing care professionals actually follow best practices. We need to get that number up. We need the quality of hearing care to drastically go up. And so having speaking engagements with different state organizations, I'm going to Australia in May to do the keynote for their audiology conference in Australia. So that'll be really exciting as well.
Ooh, very fun.
Very cool.
Yeah. Okay. So 2 things I want you guys to remember about, thank you again, Dr. Cliff, for being here. But 2 things. There's an announcement coming out in a week. Okay. So you have to follow Dr. Cliff, go to his YouTube channel. If you oddly don't subscribe yet, subscribe, okay? And then and wait for this announcement that's coming out, because I think I've gotten a little peek into what it is, and so I'm super excited. Like, I cannot wait for this to be announced. And so I've been like just like twiddling my thumbs, just waiting, because it's gonna be really huge. So number one, a week, check back in, make sure you're following Cliff and supporting him and everything that he's doing. Number two, okay, all of these videos on YouTube that we're talking about in his YouTube channel, again, don't feel overwhelmed. You can share them out. You can share them out to loved ones, to your colleagues, right? To your own page. And again, as a reminder for social media, just tag Dr. Cliff in it, and you've given him credit. That's all you have to do is take that link, share it on your page, put it up in your waiting room. We have smart TVs now, so get the YouTube channel out. And then as your patients are waiting, right? You don't even have to be an audiologist. You could be like a dentist following, right? Us and following all these videos. And you can put that up in your waiting room so that patients or people are getting this content. So don't forget, don't feel overwhelmed that you have to get out there and do this. You can share it easily. So two things, a week announcement. So tune in about a week. And then number two, don't be afraid to share it. This is why the content is out there. It's not only for Cliff's doing, but I mean, it's out there. So feel free to share whatever he's done. He's got so many great videos out there. So take your pick and put it out there and help us get the word out. So I don't know, any last words, any last thoughts that you might have, Cliff?
No, I appreciate you guys. I'm glad that you are back from your little break over the holidays. We kind of did the same thing with the Dr. Cliff show. There's a lot of stuff going on, back from having a baby. So congratulations on that. I didn't know if I had permission to share that, but it's an amazing thing that everyone should know about. And glad to be back on the show. Hopefully you'll have me back again sometime in the future when we have some other crazy stuff going on.
Yeah, we'll have to have you on regularly so we can kind of keep updated. And thanks for being you and encouraging us to, keep going and do our things bigger and better. I mean, I think talking about production value and all of that, that's just encouraged me even further to be like, from where we started to now, we've definitely upped ours too, but there's always more we can do. So
yeah, that's awesome. And we just have a really quick shout out here because we've got somebody that's joining us on LinkedIn, I believe. So he's probably glad we're back because we've been taking a break, and he says, good to see you. So thank you for joining us, Max, as well. It's always so great to see colleagues around the world just tuning in and being here for all of us. So with that, we had a great interview. If you've missed it, share it out, catch the replay. Thank you, Cliff, for all you do again. And we're so glad that you're part of our industry. And with that, we will be back next week. So thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.